G'day guys, welcome back to a brand new video. So today, what I wanted to talk about is breaking bad behaviors or breaking unresourceful behaviors. Now, I know I've worked with a lot of men who have had anger issues, worked with a lot of men that have dealt with like some deep emotional trauma that has led them to take some actions that they aren't really proud of or that they're embarrassed of even, stuff that they just don't really want to bring up because they've got this fear about, judgment, and they fear that they might be exiled by their group of mates if they bring up this thing that they did. Now, one thing that I want you to remember is that there's no bad people in the world. And this is going to be, before I say this is going to be it'll be a tough one to swallow, but when you really think about it, it does make sense. And it's that there's no bad people in this world. There's just bad behaviors, or there's no unresourceful people. There's just unresourceful behaviors. Now, hear me out. I heard this off my coach, Tom Clark, so I'm going to give him credit for telling me this, but I'm going to relay it to you guys. And if we were to take Hitler, good person, bad behaviors. Hear me out on this. Because if you take someone like Hitler, who did some pretty gruesome, bad actions, murdered a lot of people, but they were just actions, they were just behavior. That was just behavior. Who he was as a person, no idea. I haven't done enough research into who he was as a person. Maybe he's great, maybe he was a shit person, who knows. But if we just looking at him from what I'm looking at him from what I know, and he displayed some pretty bad behavior, but as a person, I'm like, cool, he's just a person. But his behavior, these actions that he took, the behaviors he displayed, not so great. So if you're a bloke and you're watching this and there's been some things you've done in the past, or even some things that you're currently doing that you're not proud of, just know that that doesn't define who you are. Doesn't define who you are as a person, doesn't define who you are as a man. They were simply just unresourceful behaviors, unresourceful actions. Now, how do we change this? How do we change some unresourceful behavior? How do we change some unresourceful actions and we turn them into something that is actually going to help us, and something that's more of a positive experience rather than a negative one? One thing you can do, easiest thing you can do, is perform a pattern interrupt. Now, what this means is you will literally have a lot of conscious awareness. You're gonna have to have a lot of conscious awareness around when this behavior is popping up, something that you don't want to do anymore. It might be picking your pimples, something as simple as that, or it might be something as dramatic as cheating on your partner all the time. Because let's be real, it does happen, right? Let's just go with the pimple example. When you're about to perform that behavior, when you're about to pick a pimple, do something so drastic that it interrupts the pattern. Because the behavior pattern is when you're, let's say, stressed, or when you're angry, or when you're sad, the pattern goes, cool, emotion equals angry, follow that up with the action of picking pimples. And that's how the pattern goes. So the pattern goes emotion equals anger, pattern, action is pick the pimple. So to interrupt the pattern, we do something so drastic. You might literally drop down and do 10 push-ups. So every time you think about picking the pimple, if you do this often enough, if you interrupt the pattern often enough, you'll just want to do push-ups. You'll get angry and you'll go, geez, I feel like doing push-ups. And then you'll do push-ups, and then boom, the anger fades away, or the sadness goes away. Now, I'm not saying, let's just be clear, I'm not saying that this is gonna fix why you felt that emotion and why you got angry and why you got sad and everything like that. This is simply interrupting a behavioral pattern. Interrupting a behavioral pattern. There's some heaps of other things that you can do to fix why certain emotions will come up in certain situations. I'll do another video on that, but for now, interrupting behavioral patterns. So the pattern is you get angry, then you pick your pimples. So we want to interrupt the pattern between when the anger comes up and when you pick your pimples. So in between there, you're gonna have conscious awareness, like I said, and drop down and do some push-ups. Or you might tell someone else. You might go, if you ever see me about to pick a pimple, the moment before you pick that pimple, you tell them to scream in your face. I'm not even joking. Scream in their face. Like, tell them that. And every time you go to pick a pimple, right before you pick it, if they scream in your face often enough, you're not gonna wanna do it because you're expecting them to do it. And that's where that pattern interrupt really works. Another thing you can do is you can sit down and do a kind of audit on yourself. This process might take a little bit longer than the pattern interrupt, but it can have some really cool long-term benefits. And what I mean by that is you can literally look at all of the things you're not proud of, all of the actions that you don't want to do anymore. And just so you know, this can be performed on any actions. It doesn't have to be like super huge, drastic actions like cheating on your partner. It can be simple actions like you don't want to spend so much time on Facebook anymore. So, or Instagram or whatever it is. So what you can do is you can audit all of your behaviors, audit all of your actions, and you can go, cool, I want to get rid of this, I want to change this, I want to change this, I want to change this. And what we can do is similar to a pattern interrupt, but what we can do is we can change the pattern. We can change the pattern to have a more positive effect on us. So, example, you want to spend less time on social media, which highly recommend. Been following me for a while, you know that I highly recommend spending less time on social media. So what you can do is literally go into your settings on your phone, and this is where the awareness comes in. This is where the awareness comes in, doing research into things and putting in some fucking effort, right? Because change requires effort. If you're not ready to put the effort in, then cool, be prepared to stay exactly the same for the rest of your life. So this is going to take a little bit of effort. In the scheme of things, it's going to require fuck all effort, but effort nonetheless. So you want to spend less time on social media. Cool little trick about iPhones is that in the settings, you can literally pick which app you want to spend however much time on. So you can go Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, blah, 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 all these different apps, and go, cool, I want to have a total across all of these apps, across every single app, I'm going to have a total of 2 hours spent on all of them, or 3 hours spent together, not 2 hours on Facebook, 2 hours on Instagram, 2 hours on YouTube, 2 hours between every single one of those apps. And when you get to that 2 hour mark, your phone will just lock the apps and you won't be able to access them anymore. You can then tap on the app and then open it again for 1 minute or 15 minutes, or ignore the limit for the day. But that's where it's going to take a lot of power from you to really stay on the path that you want to be on, rather than reverting to old patterns of behavior. Because sometimes what can happen is, again, it's a pattern of behavior, right? So the pattern might go, you drop your coffee in the morning, then you feel shit about yourself, so the self-doubt creeps in, and then because you're feeling shit about yourself, you want to go look at some things that will make you feel better. So you open up social media and you start looking at all the bodybuilding pages and you're seeing how jacked they are. Then what do you think happens? Self-doubt creeps in and the pattern starts again. Self-doubt creeps in. You see these guys and they're so jacked and you're like, why can't I be like that? Comparison creeps in. You look at another page, self-doubt creeps in again. You look at another page and the pattern just goes round and round and round. So, spending less time on social media, go into the settings on your phone, limit the amount of apps, limit the amount of time you can spend on these apps. Yep. Or even, like I've just done, I've deleted the Facebook app off my phone. Deleted it completely. Can't access it. Got Messenger still, but can't access Facebook. If I want to go on Facebook and scroll on the newsfeed or anything like that, I've got to go on my computer. And that's just a choice, yeah? Because I was noticing unresourceful patterns of behavior, just scrolling endlessly for hours and hours and hours. So, to tie this all together, if you have behaviors that you're not wanting to do anymore, you have actions you're not wanting to do anymore, pattern interrupt, conscious awareness, and doing some research into it to see if you can change that behavior to a positive experience rather than a negative experience. So something that's working for you rather than against you. Like I said, the social media apps, you can still access social media. Some of it's very beneficial, absolutely. I'm not saying all social media is negative, but limiting the amount of time you spend on the apps can have a more of a positive experience on you rather than a negative one. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.